So we were the first investment in India from SoftBank, and we were the first unicorn in the country, profitable unicorn to be precise.
Wow.
We were fighting with not Indian companies, we were fighting with global companies. Facebook, Google, they were our top competition. We will make sure as a strategy, we will remain supply constrained. We do not want to be a demand constrained company. If I can go back in time machine and fix one thing, I would have spent more money on.
So, Amit, welcome to the Founder Thesis podcast. I want to understand what were the early influences in your life which some way shaped you to become an entrepreneur at an age when entrepreneur word was not there, right? It was businessman when you became an entrepreneur. So, tell me how that happened. What were those early influences?
So, first of all, thank you very much, Akshay, for hosting me to your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. Your question is very interesting, by the way. And the answer also lies that this whole entrepreneurship was called businessmen. And maybe my roots, where I come from a business family. So, saw my father, my cousins, people around me, they were all businessmen. And as it happens in a small town, so I grew up in Kanpur. So we had a shop and some industry set up. I saw from childhood days that how do you buy something, make something, and then sell it to consumers, building their trust, the value of relationship, the value of commitments. And those were the time where digital payments were not there. Only what you have committed is as they say that your the value of your words
Juban.
was everything. Not jugaad, but your value of your
Juban.
words is
Like,
everything. Correct. So saw from very early on that word, and interestingly, my family, everyone, so they were all educated, but none of them basically have stepped out of their family businesses. So for me, it was a new thing when I told my parents that let me go do little bit more complex stuff than just doing a commerce degree, which was kind of a norm in our family. And with some hesitation, they were like, "Okay, go." Uh, and then I got into IIT, although it did not happen in one attempt. It happened in second attempt. But my parents were very supportive, especially my mother. And then 4 years in college just passed like a flick of your eyes. And then you got job offer. Again, the pressure came from the parents or father. Why are you going? They're not paying you much. Those days, 2000, the salary was close to 3 lakh rupees, 3.5 lakh rupees. And my family, my Tauji and my papa were like, hey, I'll pay you more. Why?
Okay. To join the family business. Huh.
Because the need, you are needed. That's how, families or businesses in India are being kind of taken care. Somehow, a part of me and supported by my mother indirectly, yeah, there's no harm in you going, figuring things out, and then come back. You always have this. So with that assurance, I said, okay, let me go explore. And I made that joke. वो DDLJ में सिमरन बोलती है कि पापा शादी से पहले मेरे को जाने दो. Same thing happened with me. I also gave the same gyan, same bully to my father, that let me do some work, and you know what, I'll come back. So calls after call, every time you visit, you have been asked the same question. Somehow you dodge the ball, and yeah. So I started enjoying life, which is a
You
little
were
bit.
in software,
Yeah,
like your career.
my first job was in Aditi as a software developer. The job I liked from a value perspective, but not like me becoming a developer. So I changed gears. I'll talk about that later. But net, I was actually very fascinated about building business when the concept of entrepreneurship was not there. But clearly, my early days, my family, what I grew up with, there was certainly a dream or aspiration to be doing something on my own, aka entrepreneurship. So that's the response to your question.
How did you change gears from software?
So from
Just,
software, yeah. So
I mean, just take me through the journey.
one
I'm
thing, yeah,
here to
one thing
listen.
was very clear because it's 2000. You're seeing .com, you're seeing so many things, and clearly, and I'll not say I was visionary, but I was smart enough at least to understand that technology has a big role. And when I say technology, I mean the software part. So clearly, when you see word around, you were seeing that how things are changing because of the technology, and the word will not be same. So while I appreciated that part deeply, but I could not imagine and see myself writing set of codes. And back in 2000, there was no Gen AI which could have developed the code for me. I would have probably a software engineer if Gen AI was there, but there was not the case. And copy, paste, find, replace. I was like, no, this is not my word. So, two things very clearly: the technology is important for this transformation, and the new word will be far more technology oriented. But I'm not the person who's going to code for the rest of my life. So that made a kind of a career change, and I moved to Citibank in Delhi, where my job was as a product manager. And then, as you know, the banking, all BFS, I was going through transformation. Every part of it was being digitized, every part of this being transformed to technology. So I ended up working with the technology arm of Citibank, and I was a part of their financial business. So City Financial to be precise. And that was some of the best time of my life, where I was close enough to the technology, not coding, but I was able to take a business problem, solve it. This is how you automate things. And I was very fortunate to work with back then the MD, Mr. Jaykumar, exceptional visionary leader, very high reputation in the industry. So he basically picked me as a part of the team, which was going through not just the coding part but intelligence part. So I ended up being part of the team, which was kind of building far more intelligence layer for credit scoring, for risk scoring, for a bunch of business intelligence. So I implemented the entire backbone for that for City Financial. And back then, again, there was a important, interesting opportunity came to work with a set of founders based out of Bay Area, and they're all Stanford and IIT. So most of them are Indian, but all IITs and Stanford pedigree. So they said, come over, work with us. So I kind of moved back to Bangalore, worked with them very closely for 3 years, and it was very interesting that on literally week two, my manager, whose name is also Amit Gupta, for some reason, really loved, a thorough gentleman, very intelligent, very sharp, Berkeley and IIT Delhi combination. So he came to India just to spend time with me and then kind of do an orientation for me. And he asked me, "Hey Amit, what's your plan?" I said, "Oh, 3 years from now, I will be turning 30, and I've promised myself that I will be on my own." So he was like, "Dude, what are you saying? You are sitting with me week two of your new journey, and you're talking about 3 years from now, and you will be leaving me. Are you out of your mind?" I said, "No, I'm not out of my mind. But you know what? You also become entrepreneur. How can you stop someone else?" He said, "Yeah, point taken. No problem." So I actually had just way too outstanding time in that company. Startup trying to disrupt the auction marketplace, and very good deep engineering they were doing. And
B2B
it
procurement
was actually a
platform.
listing management platform. So back then, Aditya, Akshay, uh, it was eBay, which was the platform of choice in the US for anyone to buy anything e-commerce. And in on eBay, there was a concept of bidding. So when merchants were listing their products, they have to go through certain life cycle. Amazon was just popping up, Yahoo Shopping was there. So these merchants needed some tool to broadcast their listings on multiple platforms and complete the entire journey with a customer. So that company actually had a very interesting platform for that. So it was a B2B, you can say it was a B2B platform, but more for their own online e-commerce business management. And fast forward, so I worked with them in the strategy team, uh, did a lot of things related to intelligence data. So I owned a lot of things and built a lot of trust because ultimately I had a very 360 view. They will come to me for problems. Okay, this is not working out, that is not working out. And me being that data nerd, just go put myself, layer a business view on that, and able to come up with the right set of recommendation, and also looking at the past, looking future. So had exceptional time. I enjoy my time over there. And then my 3 years journey with them almost happened, and I said, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to be on my own. So this is the time where I moved out of that company called Landley and started a company in BI space. So before InMobi, I had almost 6 months journey with another startup called Analytics Works, where the whole idea was to build a platform for BI. The work which I did with Citibank, a portion of the work I did with this startup, and as I was building this company, my batchmates, my friend, dear friend Naveen, who graduated from his MBA, and he started thinking about moving to India. And then we like, okay,
What
you
was
know,
Naveen's background?
Naveen, we were
Like after
batchmates.
MBA? Mm.
He worked for McKinsey, and then he went to HBS. So yeah, so he completed his MBA program, returning back from the US after trying something in the US, and he understood that probably India has far interesting opportunity than the US. So so he came back, and earlier whole idea was that okay, I will help you, I'm running this startup, I can also help you. But then we realized that hey, maybe working together will be far more fun. So that's how I came together. And then another friend, Abhay, who is IT Kanpur connection, 1 year junior, but we did a lot of things together at the campus days. So Abhay, myself, Naveen, we came together, raised funding from Mumbai Angel in Bombay, $500,000. And then Mohit, who knew Naveen from his Bay Area days, he also joined hands. So four of us started off journey of what that back then was called mCoach, trying to build a search on mobile phones on SMS.
When
Idea was
you raised that 500,000 from Mumbai Angels, you pitched M Coach to them.
yes, mCoach, absolutely. And we were like, change the word, look at India, and this is Google of India, and whatnot.
So
And
what was the M Coach? The like, what was the pitch?
pitch was that you can search on your mobile using SMS. So you
Okay,
send a
the
query.
pre-smartphone era.
It is a pre-smartphone era, and you send a query on a short code. If you remember, India times 8888. So we ended up acquiring 5 times 5, so 5555, and then you send a query. Some results will come, and we're trying to basically do a local listing and expand it to something else in the future. Uh, Idea was cool, but
This is
it
what Justile also like. Justile was doing it
that
through
was also kind of
calling.
copy
Uh,
paste. I will not say copy pasted, but that they got also inspired that rather than
okay,
people calling, they also implemented the same thing.
okay.
But we were very quick to understand that you know content plus ad was a model, that with every content I'll also send you one ad. So started sourcing ad from local neighborhood, and then with the rise of Groupon and the limited space what you can actually get on SMS, we basically thought that maybe we just do a deals model. So the search became only deals. So rather than showing or just saying that oh you can do a general purpose search, we were like okay, you search deals on us. So that model also kind of created some excitement, and we ended up going to, and we were all by the way in Mumbai. We were asked by our investors that you ought to move from Bangalore to Bombay. The move we really
Okay.
hated, but
Hmm.
in retrospect it was one of the best one. So we were in the city of opportunity, city of dreams, which is Mumbai. And started getting a lot of these deals. Those days, Groupon was very popular and bunch of Indian companies. And
Snapdeal and
yeah,
hmm,
Smart Deal and God knows what all. And then we actually had a mega plan. We need to have a big bang announcement. So we kind of got some pool of capital. We said, okay, we'll do an activation campaign. There's a very big mall in Mumbai called Infinity Mall in Malad area. So we ended up going and doing an activation. We convinced every store owner that we will transform your life. We also went and even met Mr. Biani, that we will transform your retail business because of M codes. Your sales will go up by 20%. So we built some billion-dollar idea and pitched it, and God knows what all. And then lot of money went into that activation program, like lakhs of rupees, which was kind of crores and crores in today's term. And the lift in sales was insignificant. It was decimal place. And the worst part is, the moment 1 week of activation was over, there was no recall. And we realized that people are not learning your way to search on feature phone, and that to their ability to do something meaningful, and that to the remembering your short code, and then there's ability to for you to track the success. All of that was kind of failing apart. And then we saw the rise of uh, the whole mobile internet. And back then it was called WAP browsers, or WML. So there was a technology behind that. So same Nokia, Motorola phones used to have a browser where people were doing something. And we started thinking that what if we do not the SMS but do mobile internet. Even if it's not feature, it's not smartphone, but there is a BlackBerry happening, there are a bunch of things happening. And when we tried that, advertisers started loving it, and we never looked back. So we did pivot from a, a search platform to a deal platform on SMS to mobile internet. And then smartphone happened and everything became history. And in this journey, we also changed name.
the it was content plus ads. The content kept changing from listings to deals. When you became a like a mobile ad, what was the content then? Like by
The
the third
content was, if
iteration.
you're trying to search for Chinese restaurant in Bandra.
Hmm,
The content was where I can buy this shoe. The content
hmm.
was cricket score. The content was weather. The content was give me a joke.
And
So,
this is on mobile browser.
no, no, this is all on SMS.
That was okay. It stayed
So
on SMS till when? Like,
when you moved on the mobile internet,
hmm,
so those days, what was the content? They were
hmm.
news sites. So they were actually people were browsing news. There were also cricket score once again. So Cricket Info was, for example, big thing. There were lot of mobile content. So lot of wallpaper, games, mobile games, even on little small phones. There were games on Nokia phone. So all of those contents people were actually looking at, and then we were able to go to those web owners or site owners and say, give me this real estate, I'm going to show a banner ad or a text ad. And so this was all display ad, if you understand the technical part. And we started doing a revenue share, built a ad network on top of it. So on one side there were advertisers who were willing to place their brands, and on the other side there were publishers. And even back then there was a money, which a group M of the word, because everyone was like, oh, mobile is the next big thing. So they will invest some money, and we will able to create a landing page. So all of that we can think of, we were doing, because it was very trackable and very unique. We were able to actually get good ROI from an advertiser's lens. And then mobile content, advertisers. So people who were selling premium games, premium ringtone, they also became natural advertisers. So someone wants to download this game, this song. There was a operator billing. So back then there was no Paytm, but Airtel will have a billing. So there was an ecosystem behind that, and we
The
started
VAS
making money. VAS
ecosystem.
services, correct,
Hmm.
correct. And then
VAS is value added services like ringtones, etc. Hmm.
we were very quick to also expand this business model to other parts of the world, especially the Southeast Asia. So publishers were same, because the same content was also happening in Indonesia. Same content will happen in multiple parts of Southeast Asia and so on. So we said, okay, Mr. Publisher, you're giving me this space for for India. Why don't you give it for Indonesia as well? And advertisers are also okay. Can we get some money for that? So built the business. It was a very interesting play. Most of the company in India, as you know, they start selling it to the US. But for us, we went from east to west, where our first market was Asia, followed by Europe, and then we went to Africa, and then the US at the last.
Okay, fascinating. Um, by when did you decide to go outside India? Which year was that?
So I would say that first year was all figuring things out. So
M
almost
coach, like
first
first year was all M coach.
6 to 9 months was even figuring out that SMS is not the right form factor. And this was 2008 when we got this PMF for mobile internet. And I would say that 2008 late was a time when we ventured into Southeast Asia from a market perspective.
Okay, fairly ambitious and aggressive team, I would say, to go out of India that early. Like within months of finding PMF, you decided to go outside India. What? I mean, how did that happen?
So, good question. I think call it the team which has got a reasonably good global mindset. So Naveen, who lived US, so no problem. Even with my journey, with my other startups, yeah. So you started seeing the word. It's not like you're you are looking at India, and I would say, city of Bangalore particularly, where you meet people, everyone has one leg outside of India. So there was never a mental resistance that we have to build business outside of India, which was one good part. But why not US but Indonesia and Southeast Asia was more about actually call it a strategy and call it also some of the market insights. So our same publisher were on the call. They will say, "Hey, I also have this user base in this country, that country. Are you interested?" And after and going to Indonesia is very easy, as you know. From India, you don't need a visa. You just get visa on arrival, or Singapore, very easy. So talking to advertiser base, would you be interested, Mr. X? Why not? Okay, you don't have to do anything. You just have to just open up your APIs, and you boom. So one can run an ad in Indonesia, in India, in Malaysia, Thailand. So in no time, without additional tech investment or BD, little bit of BD, but that's it. So you started seeing the goodness of your work without too much of breaking the wallet or breaking the bank. And yeah, so that's actually happened. So mindset was there, and openness was there, and also opportunity came asking, knocking door, that hey, would you like to do this? And we're like, why not?
Uh, that 500,000 from Mumbai Angels was enough to sustain you
Not at
even.
all. Actually, half a
Okay.
million we blew up in our first business model itself. The
Right.
interesting stories around our we not having money as early as 20 2008. uh, Almost ran out of money, ran the company on our personal credit cards after
Oh wow.
exhausting every money. So
And
yeah,
you also had employees, like you had salaries and
we had employees, and we had,
oh
yeah,
wow.
payables,
Mm,
offices, and
mm.
expenses. So yeah, we managed to save ourselves from one almost near death. And some interesting story, and we'll
How
save it
did you
for the
how
other
did
day.
you save it? Like
No, just survive, as I said, from our spouse's money, our own savings, and our own credit card, and God knows what all. And everyone you talk to, any VC, which was not a very established ecosystem back then, they will say no. That, hey, dude, what are you doing? I don't understand, uh, and
right.
things like that. But somewhere, Naveen actually went to US and met Shriram, who heard our story, and he was like, "Yeah, I think this is something which I believe will happen." He sits on Google's board and has got a lot
Uh,
of wisdom,
okay.
and with some excitement in what we were doing. he got very aligned. He said, "Okay, let's do it." And after that, Ram Shriram sent us to Clanner Perkins, uh, whom they've invested together, and then they invested money and post that. So, if I'm not wrong, they invested $7 million.
And this was in that 2008 period when you were going
This is
to
2008.
Indonesia.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
So that was
That
that's
mm,
how things actually changed for us.
that was a game changer. Like 7 million for an Indian startup would have been like front page news almost for.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
actually a big news. Actually, no one gave it a damn back then, because like startups to start with was not a big concept. It was an alien concept, and then yeah, no one cared actually. I don't remember how many people or how much PR rush
right.
was,
Uh,
but it
okay.
was big deal for Yulu, for InMobi for sure, where we said, okay, now we have some more muscle to our own ambition, and quickly scale the business to more countries, raise one more round from same investors,
How
and then
much was that next round?
I think, if I'm not wrong, $8 to $9 million.
And which year?
I think 1 year later.
Okay.
So don't hold
Hmm.
me, because I don't
Yeah, yeah,
recall.
yeah. I'm looking at ballpark numbers. That's okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then big milestone happened in 2011 late, when Masa-san came. They invested $200 million in InMobi.
Wow. Okay.
That was
What
actually.
was your revenue by then? What scale were you at by the time SoftBank came?
Uh,
Again, very ballpark. I'm
I
not
can
going to hold you
I
on
can
anything.
send you later. I
Uh,
don't remember actually, to be very
uh,
honest. Must be in some 50 million ish revenue.
50 plus. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Or somewhere in
Actually,
that. Okay. Understood. And w- why did SoftBank show interest?
they saw, and by then we had a global business. We had business in lot of Asian countries. We had business in China and thriving, US, Europe. So we were able to establish ourselves as the company who actually has fairly good handle on technology, and everyone was seeing an emergence of mobile internet like crazy. And Masasan running SoftBank, he also was on the epicenter of all disruption. So as you know that he got Yahoo, mobile was big, and he was seeing everything happening in China. So Alibaba, everything, mobile internet. So he had a vantage point where he was seeing things just crazily exploding. So uh, he actually, interestingly, when we were raising capital, we were raising not too much of capital. We were like 50-60 million dollars. But when Naveen met Masasan, he said how big it can get, and Naveen is amazing, by the way. He had a bigger plan ready. So he said, you
Okay.
know, you give me this money, I will do this. And there was a deal done, literally 6 weeks, money in the bank,
Wow. That
decision,
is
decision in 24 hours. So we were the first investment in India from SoftBank, and we were the first unicorn in the country.
that
Uh,
200 million round was a
profit-
unicorn round.
profitable unicorn, to be precise.
Wow.
So we were making money,
Hmm.
growing big.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Do you agree with that decision to take more money? You were planning 50, 60 million. Instead, you took 200 million. Does that, does too much money harm a startup?
yeah. So if money comes at the right valuation, then whatever quantum is coming, you should welcome. So one good part is, when Masa-san offered us more money, he did not uh, he did not actually shortchange us on the value. So which is one good part.
Hmm.
And hand on heart, we thought we have a good plan. There was no uh, there was no plan to just blow the money. So just to be very clear, at the same time, when you get a lot of money, then Call it your ambition, or call it a balance of your focus and ambition. I think these are the tricky points. And if things goes as per the plan, then you feel good that okay, my ambition, my plan, things actually happen the way you thought things with your sanity of your mind. And then there are things which do not go as per the plan. And when you're building a new category, there are way too many unknowns in the markets where you have not been, not even as a tourist. So you're going in the country to start a business, and you're already hired people maybe remotely, and then imagine to that kind of pace. So I can say that now in retrospect, that maybe too much of money also led us to do multiple things. But if you go back to the classic wisdom that focus is everything, uh, yeah, less money would have forced us a little bit more.
To be focused. Okay.
And if you ask me, what is the right answer, I actually will say it's very situational. Because if you have a good resource at your hand, then your ability to do what is possible is also there. So as long as you're not doing stupid things of just blowing money like it's not yours, then it is not good. But as long as you're putting on things which can create value, then it is okay. So in InMobi's case, at least, we believe that we did the right decisions. If I can go back and change, I will not change the funding amount. I will change the allocation of that money to more on tech and lesser on the business expansion. So if I can go back in time machine and fix one thing, I would have spent more money on tech and less on business expansion. That is the only thing I would have done. Yeah, so that's the answer to your question. So
Um, okay.
no
The
extra money is fine, but
Huh,
yeah, you need to allocate it properly.
right. The tech doesn't sound very complex to me. I mean, ad serving technology. You are like help me appreciate why you feel tech needed more investment. Why the tech of an ad network is complicated. What are the nuts and bolts of an ad platform? How does it work?
Sure. So I think for you to appreciate that, you have to go back 15 years back, 20 years back actually. And back then, building a platform with a response rate of 100 milliseconds is a non-trivial part.
Right.
Ad request comes, you have to go back, and the reason is if you don't respond back the right ad, by the way, then the publisher page who is being opened by a user will take forever to load. So now you have far more sophisticated technology. You have CDNs across the globe, and a lot of content delivery networks,
Delivery. Okay. Content
caching.
delivery. Okay. Hmm.
But more than that, the compute which you have to do very quickly. There was no Amazon, by the way. There was no AWS.
No cloud. Right.
Imagine that you have to create your own AWS
Hmm.
to do this business, all optimization, fail-safe systems. So InMobi had its own data platform team. What you have been given on a platter today, you have to build that. So the cost of starting a company, like MCoach days, we had to buy our own server, host it at a data center. So those were the days. So imagine that you have to not only build a data platform, deal with massive amount of data, billions of ad requests coming. You have to pick it up, response back in a matter of 100 to 150 milliseconds. If you don't do that, you lose that opportunity. And then optimize the algorithm for better ad effectiveness to better monetization, fraud detection, build a data platform so that when the same device requests for the next time, there's a history which I have got. All of that has to happen in real time. So it was a very, very complex exercise.
Hmm.
Today you
Right.
have chat gpt, you just type something, you have this answer. But back
Right.
then it was nothing. So you are building your own
Mm,
quote unquote LLM. You are building your all of that. You are building. And if we would have spent more time, we would have on technology, we would have created far more ecosystem uh, between the ad networks. So basically, if you look at the ad networks value chain, there's a network which is doing the demand and supply auction, but there are also demand side platform, supply side platform, data platform. There are a bunch of things which basically come and play together. And those investments back then would have made us far more stronger, and the DNA of the company would have been 80-90% tech and 10% sales. But when we were scaling the business, we were more sales and then the technology. And we were fighting with not Indian companies, we were fighting with global companies. Facebook, Google, they were our top competition. So imagine if you are not putting the money where the actual the real war is happening, uh, you will be marginalized. And while InMobi has done really, really well, but look at what Facebook and Google with ad business, they're trillions of dollars company. And we clearly had a shot. We were ahead of the time. We were almost right on the time at this whole ecosystem development. So very proud what we have been able to do with whatever limited resources. But yeah, things could have been very different if we had played our technology card bit more aggressively.
right. Because you're competing against Silicon Valley companies who would have put in a lot more engineering bandwidth. Right. Okay. What are these DSP, SSP data platforms, which you said are part of the ecosystem in an ad network?
So what happens in an ad? There are two major components. One is advertiser. So for advertiser to feed the bunch of ad campaigns, they can come on your interface do it, but they prefer what they call demand side platform. So using one interface, they can feed into a Google system, InMobi system, and Facebook system, and so on, because they need a common interface to look at the campaign's performance, manage it. So if you do not have a demand side platform, or you don't have those pipes, then you have a demand liquidity problem.
Hmm.
Same way you have publishers who are the website and the app owners, and they use what they call supplier side platform. So using that tools, they can manage their monetization, they can do ad quality, a lot of things. So you have to play with that, and the data platform is basically sits with both advertisers and the publishers, who are just enriching every ad request. And with so this game is all about targeting. So when you're using digital advertising, you're not saying just do it, not painting the town red or spraying and praying, as we say in our word. You are saying, hey, I want to target someone who lives in Tokyo, who is this age, who has interest in music, and blah blah blah. On the basis of that, you basically target. Now, one thing is situational, what you are doing, but one thing is your history. So if you have been to a music site, then I can tag with your device ID that Akshay is a music buff, because I know he has been to these music sites, and hence he is a good consumer for me. Versus situational, that you are on Spotify, I'm trying to run an ad on Spotify. But that is not good enough, because you're not spending time on Spotify, you're spending time on like 20 sites or apps. So that data platform is kind of a wisdom, where they are able to create history for every device, what type of ads you have clicked. That story sits with InMobi, that you have shown interest in this kind of ads. So when I have a request coming from your device when you are browsing someone else's app, I know what ad to show, because at any time I have an opportunity to show you one ad from a pool of 10, 20, 30 ads. So which ad to show? Because that's where the auction happens, where your happiness, monetization, advertisers' interest, everything come together. So it's a very complex objective function
Matching.
where,
Okay.
yeah, where the lot of things happen.
Hmm. This data platform is a separate independent company like DSP, SSP, or this
So
is
there are
within the
actually
ad?
companies. There are companies who are independent companies. who are just doing one thing. They go not only take your data, but they take data from lot of places. They aggregate that, they put it together. Just to give you an example, every lat long tells you something. So there are companies now who are saying that this particular lat long is not just in the context of, let's say, Tokyo, Ginza, but you know what? Ginza is also high street. It has got a lot of high end real estates. But this particular place is not just a store, but it's Louis Vuitton. So if someone has gone there, it means XYZ. So they augment the data, they make sense out of that, and there's several such examples. So there are data platforms who sell data either on a subscription basis or a transaction level, and then every business, as I said, advertiser, publisher, even ad networks, they have their own data platforms. So each one of them, they start building kind of a history and build intelligence on top of it. So there are third party data platforms and providers. You can hook and augment your intelligence, and then everything is basically so this whole business is all about data, all about the intelligence what you have got, and it results into better or effectiveness of the ad campaign.
The advertiser is giving the data that these are the users I want to target, or the ad networks algorithms decide whom to target. Who's the consumer of this data?
So at a macro level, the the advertiser says that I need a person who lives in this metro city. He has got these five traits. So depending on the platform of choice, they will say that these are my filters. So why, for example, Facebook became so popular? Because Facebook had users data of their gender, where do they live, what type of things they follow, and things like that. Google search did not have that in the beginning, because there was no place where you were telling that I am a male lives, and that's why they got bunch of things so that they started knowing about you. So it is a very core to either the ad platform or the advertiser. But advertiser, historically, they know that this has worked for me, and they are also able to augment when they are sending the ad campaigns. They're also able to send some more data points that give me XYZ. But advertisers do not have access to the user data. They're just saying, give me this, this, this. So they're asking, they're pulling. But the publisher side or at the ad network side, they have a lot of wisdom about the user side. And that's where the matchmaking happens.
Okay, okay, understood. Uh, this data is linked to a person. Like there would be a profile of a person saying that this person lives in Tokyo and shops at Louis Vuitton and listens to and has a Spotify membership, for example.
So depending on who's the person behind that. So yeah, there will be some profiling for sure. So for example, Google knows quite a lot about yourself. That's why they became so big, because they see you on YouTube, they see you on multiple things.
Google
uh,
Maps also
but
gives them.
but just to be clear, I think almost every company, they follow the data privacy very very seriously. So while they will tell that they will expose, when you are browsing, by the way, some of their site, that I have a person who is right now doing this particular activity on my site, do you have an ad for me? So there's never a scenario where the advertiser can do a surgical selection of Akshay, but they will say, hey, give me someone who has been to Louis Vuitton and XYZ. So yeah, this is possibility, but in no circumstance they will know your data unless you go click on an ad and fill your information. So that level of data privacy is there, but most of the time it is linked with what Google say. There's a ad ID. uh, so there's a ID. If you're using an Android phone, you will see there's, go to setting, you will find there's an ad ID. On the Apple ecosystem side, there was an Apple ID, there was some ID, not Apple ID, which was a unique identifier. In the browser world, they were using cookies, but in the app ecosystem, there's no cookie. So it got developed for attribution purpose. A lot of things happened in the ecosystem as the ecosystem was maturing.
Okay, okay, okay. How does an ad network earn? Like, is it a
They take
commission
a
on the
cut, they
spend?
take a commission. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they take
Is
commission from the payout which they have to give to the publisher.
okay. Is there some additional money you can earn if you are more successful? Like, does success determine how much you earn? Like, are there different models? Like, say, just for viewing an ad, you get something, but if someone actually clicks on the ad, you earn more. Things
So
like that.
you mean the ad network making more money or the consumer making more money?
No, the ad network making more money. Like,
So ad network most of the time they have a percentage commission in most of the cases, unless they are doing a success based campaign, which they typically don't do. So they are very clear pass through. It's like Uber or some any third party platform. So they say you make $100, I'll take $15, and everyone is okay.
okay,
So I think if you ask me who can make more money is a publisher who is actually the owner of that property. So how can he make more money? He can make more money by having more usage of the app. So instead of having 1 million active users, you have 10 million active users. Your money making machine become 10x bigger. Second one is that because your audience are so good, you are attracting high quality ads, and if the engagement is good, the closure rate is good. So what happens that while someone pays on a click basis most of the time, but ultimately from advertiser they are looking for the quality of the user. So the system works in a manner where they know that this particular app is giving better conversion rate, and if you fast forward that, there's also an LTV that this particular app or audience is giving me far better conversion rate and higher LTV. I am happy paying 2x of the money which I am paying elsewhere. So sooner or later, the high quality app with good quality audience in the background will be far more valuable, and hence the publisher will make money not only just because of 10x bigger, but at a unit level also he will end up making more money. So this is a science and the maths behind that.
and this is decided through a bidding. Like people would.
Bidding, this is a loop, a feedback loop, that you gave me 1000 users post acquisition, uh, how many of them did a transaction, what has been their LTV. So it's all maths, all science put
This
together.
data flows between the ad network and the advertiser, like
Yeah.
the LTV data. Okay.
Yeah. See, the moment you have interacted with an ad, then you have that data, and how you have that data. Typically, you'll be transported to that particular ecosystem, aka let's say their own mobile site, right? When you are on their mobile site, you have their device ID or ad ID, whatever you call, and a bunch of things. And over last 10 years, ecosystem has become very mature. There are a lot of attribution tracking partners. They know what you have done on their site. They're able to match make that you came, you signed up, you did this transaction. So everywhere the funnel, the quality of the funnel, uh, so lot of maths.
Hmm. Okay, fascinating. In this ad network market, now you said Facebook and Google were like the kind of people that InMobi is competing against. Uh, Facebook is a place you go just to advertise on Facebook properties, or Facebook also does this, like working with supply side platforms and aggregating publishers.
Yeah. So they all, by the way, have both. So they called ONO. So when you advertise on Facebook, it's not just Facebook but also Instagram and bunch of things they have got, and they have third-party publishers as well. Same thing is true for Google, where they have bunch of their own properties, ONO they call, and then third-party publishers. So because you have an
ONO is like owned and operated, I'm
on and
guessing,
off
or
the website.
something. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Hmm.
So you need one reason for advertisers to come to you. And back then, I don't know the current statistics, but Facebook and Google properties put together, they actually used to command almost 35% of the users' time. So that is the dominance they have got. I don't know the current numbers. But back then, one third of users' time on phone, they were on these two properties. And then when you have this much of aura and the pull, advertiser will come to you and they say, hey, you know what, just one tick mark, you want me to run on similar audience on different sites. And from your side, yes, why not? Anyway, I'm here for getting more customers. So that worked really well for them. And this was, by the way, one more reason why InMobi uh, you know did not have that advantage. We InMobi had this disadvantage of not having an ONO. So everything in our case were all third party publishers. So that was an handicap for sure.
Okay, okay. Uh, so why would an advertiser need to go to a demand side platform? Why wouldn't they directly go to a Google or a Facebook?
So they see small advertisers, they do, because when you are using a DSP, you also have to pay for that platform. But imagine you are running campaigns on five different interfaces. So not only there's the likes of a Google, Facebook, or Snapchat or InMobi, but you're also running campaigns on very high quality select publishers where you have a relationship with. So they will go run it on NFL, NBA, because this is my target audience. So you cannot just go and deal with everyone's interface. So you want to see one interface, run it, and then your own data, your wisdom, it's impossible for you to integrate with everyone. So when you have one interface which has got deeply connected uh, budget management, intelligence layering, so it just becomes easy. And especially in the context of Western world, where every person who has to be intelligent, by the way, because dealing with a lot of data, you cannot put five people for five interfaces. So you have rather one person who is managing it all: reporting, optimization, tracking, attribution. So there are a lot of work. So that's why someone uses DSP.
Okay, okay, okay. Understood. Okay. So, y- how did your role evolve at InMobi?
Yeah. So MCO's days, I was just trying to get all of these merchants to give me the deals. Uh, and then when mobile internet happened, uh, it was all about publisher acquisition. So I was bringing the supply. My co-founder Abhay was bringing demand. So he will go to agencies, advertisers, and then there was a stage where so these two things have to match. I can go get random supply, and Abhay can go get random advertisers which are never meant for each other. But it will be Naveen who will be always figuring it out, that how do you bring the demand and supply at the same level so that we make money. So we took a decision of having a revenue and operations head. So I took over from head of BD to head of revenue, and ran the function for some time. Uh, Post that, my last 2.5 years, I
Head of revenue would mean that advertiser revenue you were responsible for.
both both
Like you had a team of salespeople under you who were going
both. We
and
basically both,
alliances.
yeah,
Oh,
analyze
both.
it.
Okay, you were doing both. Okay, demand
And,
and supply both. Okay.
yeah, and then Abhay uh, moved to Europe for some time. We saw opportunity to grow the business, and one of the founders to be there, and he almost played. He was wearing a hat of head of Europe, and then while this all thing was happening, then um, we took another decision. I went to US wearing my hat of head of North America. Abhay took over as a head of revenue. He moved back to India, and then I also started working on Glance. So we are trying to figure out a monetization model for telcos and handset makers. So that led to be building Glance, and Glance is one product which sits on your lock screen. Very fascinating. And this whole thing came from the pain point of InMobi does not have its own ONO, and InMobi does not have the depth of the data what Google and Facebook have. So the whole idea was that, okay, if you cannot be Facebook and Google, what else you can be? where you actually have a depth of the data, time of the user, and lock screen. To your surprise, on an average, people interact with 200 times per day. In fact, that number has only gone up. In China, that number was 350, 400 per day. So we thought, why don't we replace the lock screen with some interesting content? And while the idea was cool, but how do you become a lock screen? That idea was not easy to implement. So we built up a product, and then we were sure that it cannot be a way where I go to a consumer and say, you download my lock screen. And they were, by the way, businesses or the companies who were trying to do that. But the experience was very, very lousy. And then no one is paying any money. So they will actually do very shady advertisement and very, 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 very broken. So almost feel like that, hey, this phone is such a piece of crap. So uh, we ended up going to Samsung, Xiaomi, where we said that, hey, the same boring lock screen, we can make it far more interesting, engaging, and we have this platform. So spent almost 1 year in convincing Samsung, who was very, very like, experienced first company, as all of us know, and we showed that, and we proved that this product will only increase the premiumness, and it's not basically going to take away your users happiness or NPS score. So went to Korea multiple times, worked with the headquarter team, met with their CEO, bunch of interesting thing happened, and then convinced Xiaomi uh, to put glance on their phone being sold in India. And then post that, we never looked back. uh, I transitioned out, by the way, after doing these 3 4 important deals, and to start Yulu. But post my departure from InMobi, Glance became a company. It became a unicorn. So Peter Thiel's company fund invested, and then Google invested, and then Geo invested. So Glance is also now very valuable, one of its own kind in the world, just like InMobi. Uh, we created a category. Glance is also a category, and very, very powerful. A very, very good example of uh, thinking from first principle, the stakeholders you need to get on your side, do a great job on technology, user option, and then create something value out of that. So yeah, so that's kind of in Mobi, and then Glance, and then stepping stone into Yulu, where I was turning 40, just like my 30-year milestone promise.
Yeah.
I thought 40
Let me
years.
ask you one question about Glance before we come to the 40 milestone. Um, w- what is the data that Glance is giving you? So you are serving, for example, a cricket score on Glance, which kind of also is like full circle what M Coach started with. Uh, so you're serving cricket scores and a bunch of other things. How do you know what, like, how do you understand the user better through that? Like, is there a heart there that people like something and therefore the advertising can be more targeted, or like, how do you understand the user?
Sure. So first of all, because you're deeply integrated with the OS, every piece of data actually goes through you. What is being used is a question mark. Uh, you know, right now I'm not saying that, uh, but at the same time I know Glance is not misusing any such data. That's point number one. But we actually started understanding the user behavior because they were interacting with the lock screen content very, very frequently. So to start with, when you are setting up Glance, you will be asked that, hey, what all categories you are interested. So there are like 10 plus categories: food, travel, tech, politics, sports, lifestyle, travel, whatever. On the basis of that, you are being shown a very beautifully curated content on Lockscreen, and then there's a interaction button. So on the
The
basis of
interaction will like zoom in to the content and show more details.
learn
Okay.
more, show more,
Mm.
you will be shown a video, you'll be shown a text, you'll be shown something. So that itself is so valuable, because to start with, you told me that, hey, I love food, I love travel, and then within that, we started knowing your deeper preference. And then same like ad, I use the same technology to do the content prioritization. So I know if I have 20 things to show you, which one to show you at that point of time. There was an algorithm. And one more beautiful part is, unlike the ad network business, where we are only sending one small piece of banner or text, here we are sitting on the device. So if you have heard of concept of edge computing, where the device itself can do some interesting things to just personalize your experience far better. So we leverage our strength by sitting on the device to show you the content which is really, really good. And so that was basically how things evolved. And then post that, some of the content will be advertorial in nature. So without compromising on UX or the relevancy. So glance was very different in a thesis, that from day one it was very user centric. So we'll never show you something which is not contextual or not useful. So with this approach, you will see less ad, but whatever you see, we believe that it is really, really important for you. And with that, we were able to build the trust. With that, everyone was happy because the mobile handset makers who were inserting glance, they were basically making money. InMobi was making money because there's an ad money coming from the advertiser, and user was also very happy because they're seeing the stuff that really, really matters.
This was white labeled. I would know that this is
No,
Glance, or
it
I
is
would know that
actually
this is Samsung's.
available as a glance. So it's not white label. When you look deeper, it will say glance. In the case of Xiaomi, it says glance. Uh, there's an MI
Okay.
co
Hmm.
co-branding.
Co-branding.
I
Okay.
don't remember what they exactly say, but there's a co-branding which happens there.
Okay. Okay.
So now Glance is live in multiple countries, not only India, but Indonesia is a big market, other countries in Southeast Asia. Now, even in the US, Glance has 5 million users as we speak. So, a bunch of interesting things are happening over there.
And is this typically more in budget phones? Because I'm
No,
assuming.
no, except for the highest end of Samsung device, every phone actually has Glance.
Okay.
So, it is actually increasing the premiumness, not taking it away. So, that has been the pitch from day one.
Okay. Okay. Fascinating. The, so the US number of 5 million sounds low if it's there on every Samsung
Because
phone.
it
And
just recently got launched.
okay.
I
Okay.
think
Okay.
it's I think less than 2 quarters.
Mm,
Maybe the
got it.
second
Got it.
quarter if I'm not wrong.
Okay. 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 So there would be some sort of average click through rate. Say, for example, Google might say that okay, 5% of ads get a click. uh, and I don't know, these are just numbers I'm throwing as examples. How does Glance click through rate compare to a Google click through rate, or a YouTube or a Facebook click through rate? Like
I actually honestly don't know the numbers
okay,
at the moment, but they are
when you were
reasonably
there, like how did it compare to other platforms in terms of.
far high because you have the only thing you are seeing, and if the content is good, you interact. So
Okay. This, I mean, this conversation so far does help me understand a bit about why companies would want to acquire social networks, because the acquiring social network is then the O&O for, like, say, a Google acquiring or a Facebook acquiring WhatsApp. These are just ways to increase your O&O and make yourself more
when I know
valuable.
your data,
Hmm.
data is actually a very powerful part.
Okay. Okay. Fascinating. So now let's come to the 40-year milestone. So you were nearing 40, and you had done those big alliances to get Glance off the ground. So what was the trigger then?
So as I said, promise to myself, just like 30 years become entrepreneur, 40 years retire.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
And imagine you are almost like a bullet train speed, life moving globetrotter and whatnot. Uh, the high of building glance and whatnot. And then you're saying, hey, retire, chill, mountain, maybe beach, forest. None of that. They sounded, it felt like a great idea, but after 2 3 weeks, probably boring. It's almost like someone living in New York City and or Tokyo for that matter. You say, hey, live in some village, a remote village, and how will you feel? Cannot. So same thing happened with me. I thought 40 years, uh, retired. Taking a chill pill probably is the right way to do. But somewhere, yeah, that thought after fast forwarding, 2 3 weeks from or 1 month, was not resonating. I was not able to imagine myself, and then ask, what else, which I will regret when I am 50. So this whole thought of
So you quit InMobi and then you did this soul searching, or this was
no,
in
no, no.
parallel?
This was when I was like 35.
Ah, okay. Hmm.
Okay, but yeah, the decision was never about that. I will quit in Mobi, but the wish was that okay, I'll retire.
Hmm.
Okay, but retirement was not an option, or taking a chill pill was not an option. Let me say that, because you need not to retire from your own startup. Uh, you can always take a backseat. But the thought somehow was not going well in my own mind. Then I was like, okay, if you really want to do something, what is that thing you will regret not doing when you're 50? So I was like, okay, uh, soul searching, talking to a lot of people, and that, okay, if this is not what if I, let's say, build 10 more year glance, uh, will I be feeling achieved, or or will there be something else which will be nagging me? So found out that there's, I think, desire or willingness to do something good for society, and what can I do with my limited skills, my knowledge, and started thinking of problems. And then if you have been to Bangalore, people joke that outside of your spouse and your girlfriend problem or your boyfriend problem, the next big thing people talk about is traffic. And I thought, let me solve for traffic, let me solve for air quality, which is becoming worse in India. So that's how Yulu was born. uh, we thought that will make mobility clean, green, sustainable, easy, affordable, all of those nice adjective, almost like having a very wild, honestly very beautiful dream, that all of this. So yeah, put yourself for the next couple of decades or whatever, and fix this problem. So that's how journey with Yulu started, with that pain point.
Why Yulu? Where does that word come from?
So Yulu actually came from a couple of previous wisdoms. So wisdom number one was that when we took M Coach as a name, and we were building the business outside of India. Southeast Asia people were very forgiving. They're like, okay, M Coach, no problem, M Coach. When we started going to Europe, they will freak out. They say, what's your company name? What's your company name? What does it
They
mean?
can't say "k" anyway.
They cannot say Kho, they say I'm Khoi, and God knows what all variation is
Hmm.
almost like a gynecologist. If you ask someone to write it, you know how many variations you will get. So same way, M Coach name, beautiful name. We are very emotional about it, but somehow Western audience, Chinese audience, they were not like very happy about it. So we said, okay, we need a simple name, easy name which everyone can understand. So we basically found out InMobi.com, a good name, and the .com was available. We quickly buy it from a secondary marketplace, and then InMobi. And InMobi was easy, international. It was also fairly gelling well with our thesis. There was an India International IN. Mobi
Yeah,
was mobile. So
right.
it worked really well.
Hmm.
Simple, sweet name. Help us with the global expansion. So when we were doing Yulu, uh, then at least one wisdom that your name has to be simple. It cannot be some complicated name which people don't know how to take. And then just like in Mobi, in some shape or form, we do see a future of Yulu beyond India from partnership perspectives, goodness, business, whatever, stakeholders for that matter. So we were looking for a short and sweet name, and we also wanted that name to be a bit more peppy because you don't want a boring name. You wanted ideally a short name. You also wanted a name which should not offend. Sometimes their names in some other cultural context they actually not a good meaning, so we didn't want that. And last but not the least, can you get a .com? So we started writing all of those, and also idea came from likes of Yahoo and some other peppy names. So started writing whatever fun names, started writing. And unfortunately, you cannot go with an English dictionary name because every English dictionary name, there's always a company. All of them have taken. So you have to find something which. So after some hit and trial, we kind of got two, three names, and Yulu was one of that. Yulu.com, while we do not own it, but we know there's a secondary marketplace where we can buy it. So the seller, when I checked last time, they wanted $100,000,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is some money, but maybe at some point, it will be a kind of a change. Credit card, take it, so that you go if we really want to exercise very good that Yulu.com should be mine. I can buy it, but except for .com, we ended up buying everything, which is and then we ended up using Yulu.bike as a company official handle. Uh, and then we also checked what does it mean really. So it should not offend someone. But in this whole journey, we found out Yulu actually means simple in one of the Chinese languages. So we thought that we're solving a complex problem with a simple solution. So that name resonated quite a lot. There's also a similar word called Zulu, ZULU, which is a language and a tribe in Africa. So we thought that we are building a new tribe of people, believers in sustainable mobility. So from that angle, also Yulu name sounded pretty good. And yeah, so easy, fun, young, short, .com means something truly relevant to our mission. Yeah, that's how Yulu name came into picture.
Okay. You raised about 2.5 million seed round. I'm assuming this would have been pre-launch. What was the pitch?
Yeah, so we ended up raising Akshay $7 million in our seed round.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, we had more money, more demand for our shares than what we wanted to dilute.
Okay.
But yeah, our
The
first
advantage
was
of being a second-time founder, like you have already built two unicorns, so
so
they
actually
would have been.
it was not so complicated. Actually, you can see, yeah, second time founder, uh, that was helpful. They're enough and more believer in this problem statement, and also the founding team, not just me. We were very lucky to have a very compelling and very good founding team. So RK Mishra, Naveen, uh, we basically have done good things in life. So I would say we were a very mission oriented team, very determined, who can think first principle, who can build categories, and also here for a long run. So what you hear in the ecosystem, people take shortcut, sometime broad shortcuts, sometime ethical shortcuts. We are very very mature from all of these aspects. So yeah, so we did get money, and the pitch was we'll solve this problem, and then
No,
the
like you would
ecosystem.
have clarified how you will solve it, right? Like what was the initial.
Yeah, and just like our M coach days,
Mm,
the first $1 billion idea was bicycle,
mm,
being inspired, from quite a lot from European world and China.
Yes.
Did not work. Just like MCO's days, 6 months, my reality was on our face. Same way,
These were like pedaled bicycles or like battery powered?
pedal bicycle, which
Okay.
was designed, built by us with a collaboration from one of the Hero Group's company. Beautiful product. People loved it, but they were not using it for commute. They were using to go for their morning fitness run. They will use it for evening ice cream eating affairs. So it was more leisure product, fun product rather than the commute. So we were very clear that we should not change the DNA. We should not become a fitness company. We should remain a mobility company, commute solving company. So being true to the our own core state mission statement, we decided to actually flip our platform or the product of choice to electric. So that was a transition from bicycle company to an moped company. Uh,
When did that transition happen? The
this happened late 2008, actually from a product launch perspective 2019, but 2008 mid we were very clear that this thing is not going to make us achieve our objective what we are looking at.
Mm. Uh, what was the mechanics of it? Like people can go to a specific Yulu point and pick up and then drop at any other Yulu point. That was how it worked.
Precisely, just like what you see in Tokyo, you have those red color bikes, and same way you basically pick up from one location, drop it at another, and we were able to get those spaces by the city authorities. Just for example, city of Bangalore, we had 3,000 such spots where you can pick up and drop our bikes.
Uh, See, in Tokyo, uh, people have more civic sense. I imagine it must have been like there must have been a lot of leakage in the assets in India.
So answer is yes and no. Uh, while we were building this business, and I think in retrospect, we running bicycle, which is far cheaper than electric bike, in hindsight was a great decision because even that asset was being vandalized, being lifted, being stolen by the way. And as a matter of fact, our first theft happened on third day of going. So it's not like yeah. And but if you look at the world, talk about San Francisco, you talk about Singapore, you talk about Paris. Every city went through the same shit. So it's not like we were alone or our people are so bad. But those low cost mules, low cost bikes, made our technology and our operation very, very solid. So we learned the tricks of the trade, how to prevent our assets from being vandalized, being stolen. And when we were transitioning to electric mobility, the rate was far lower. In fact, we also become far better in making sure that there's an anti-theft products. We also took some interesting design decisions. One of the big ones is that our bikes actually, if you steal something, has no commercial value. Everything is very unique. So what we say, we use a purpose-built bike where everything is built for shared mobility. So not only it is durable, but also if you steal my tire, you cannot use it elsewhere. Steal my seat, okay, if it is of no use. And even battery, like you steal it, it is of no use to you. And only person who can give you money is the scrape vendor. We also ended up becoming friends with every scrape vendor in the city. So if you end up going to there, most likely we will know. And you'll be also surprised, which is not intuitive. Our cities actually have way too many CCTV cameras. So the bike is set up with GPS. You do something, you take it. There will be location trail. You'll be leaving, and I will catch you. And we have created our own bike marshals. We have every city has their own, so their own our private police. With our collaboration with the city authorities, the police department also helps us. So what we made sure that just like it happens everywhere, there's an implication. So you basically did something wrong to my bike, then there will be implications. And implications can be as low as that we giving you a warning, to we taking penalty from you, to we handing over to you to a police department, where they will give you nice hospitality for a week or two, and then you come out, and then you tell your friends that it's not worth it.
Hmm.
So this feedback loop of you will not be spared was well accepted and well understood. I would
Hmm.
say well understood.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
So
Okay.
as a
Okay.
result of that, our
Uh,
theft and vandalism rate has
hmm.
been below 1%, in fact 0.6% to be precise, which
Wow.
is lowest in the world,
Hmm.
lowest in the world. So
Hmm.
that's how we have solved and walking the talk from last 7 years.
Amazing. 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 Um, did you so when you decided to move to electric vehicle, um, w- was it to like buy electric vehicles from existing manufacturers which are customized for you? Was that the plan, or like how did you like what's been the journey there?
Sure. So we were very clear that what is being built for end consumer will not work for this business model. So we were very anti off the shelf product. And the wisdom came from bicycle, wisdom came from other markets. So we ended up, kind of putting together the specification and went to some large OEMs, as you can imagine, the all known suspects. And this type of product was not existing. So our friends in Japan, they they said, come to us in 2025, we will give you a product. And this is 2018. So they had this roadmap for 7 years very assertively. And then we went to every friends in India, and everyone is like, okay, give me specification, give me this much of money, we will make it for you. Will take couple of years. Our problem was, first of all, we don't have 2 years, we'll die, and we also don't know what to build. We had this, wisdom that these are the problem, but we don't know the solution. And they're like, oh, give me specification, otherwise I don't know. So we are in a unique situation where we need a vision partner rather than a manufacturing partner. And in that journey, one of our uh, investors, they got us to meet Mr. Rajiv Bajaj of Bajaj Auto, and I went to meet him and shared this whole opportunity vision and what are we looking for. And he was like, great, this looks awesome. So Shriram journey you saw in Mobi days, I think Rajiv Bajaj is another Ram Shriram for Yulu, who saw a great potential, who saw some pairs of glittering eyes, who wanted to do something very very interesting and very big, bring transformation to mobility. And that's how he said, okay, we'll help you, but you know what, we'll take some time. So what to do? So we ended up going to China, where electric mobility is not a new subject. They have been doing it for 20 years, and we were able to find some models which were not same, but we were matching what we needed. So by working with them, uh, they were able to customize something for us, and then we bring it to India. And with the help of Bajaj, they set up a assembly plant for us. They assembled it in India for us, did a little bit customization, and then we launched the product.
So you were importing the kit, or like it's called, I think, semi knockdown, completely knockdown. Like,
I would say, yeah, it was a bunch of components, because making anything from scratch cannot be done overnight. So you have to invest 2 years. In the case of Bajaj, we did have an opportunity to just copy paste things, but we said no. Let's learn from whatever we have got, and then we will create India's first vehicle which are purpose built for scale, built for our country, made in India. So we basically, and in fact, more than us, even Bajaj Auto Limited, Rajiv, Mr. Rajiv Bajaj and his R&D team, they were very convinced. that this product does not exist and it requires different amount of mindset. So just to give you a sense, two wheelers are known for moving people, as all of us know. They're also being owned. We are actually making the first time a vehicle which is used for commercial, and that too given to the strangers. So the complexity of the product is different level. It is not you basically making a Chetak or a TVS or an Activa, So that mindset where you need something to plow your field, you need a tractor, you cannot use your car, and vice versa. So it's a very different mindset. It was not being done before. So that's why we took a far more fundamental approach of building the platform from scratch, so that we build a great product which is a product market fit for this use case and for this market both.
Okay. The the market itself changed, right? Your early hypothesis was like say office commute.
Yeah,
So why did you change that market, and what is the market? How did it change? When did it change?
sure. So I will not say it got changed, I would say it got expanded. And why I say so, so we rolled out these first generation miracle bikes, electric bikes, and then business started growing like crazy. Unfortunately, COVID happened. Our core user base who were using it for office commute, that went to zero. And then COVID was starting to get normalized. We starting seeing our user base coming back, because some of them had to go to work. Not everyone was working for a tech company. Some offline people also had to use, and we were the only company in the city who was allowed to run mobility service. So COVID protocols did not allow a taxi, auto rickshaw, buses to run, and the reason was ours was self-riding versus everything else was a driver-driven or there was a co-passenger. So in 3 months, we were able to get back to the pre-COVID numbers, which was fascinating. But at the same time, we also started seeing one more phenomena, that our bikes are being used by the gig workers. So in India, 85% people don't have bike, they don't have driving license. And then due to COVID, everyone was clicking button, getting their food, grocery, medicines. So there was a huge demand for bike like ours, for some gig worker to become a delivery partner for likes of a Swiggy, Zomato. And then in the beginning, we were like, hey, wait a minute, what is this use case? Why we are seeing a peak of usage at 12 noon? Because 10 a.m. everyone is at their office. And knowing from the market, and some friends telling us that, hey, I saw a Zomato guy on your bike. And we're like, what? We made it for a Dell laptop on the back, not a Zomato guy.
Okay.
So we were in a dilemma, and we were like, okay, this looks interesting, but you know what? Is this a big pain point? Can we create value? And after some, I would say, to start with, emotional struggle, we were very convinced that this phenomena of people clicking a button for the service and the product is not a COVID phenomena. It is here to stay. And once we reconcile that fact in our head, we actually fully committed to that category. And then not only we actually launched one more product, which was our second generation product, which was built for better safety, comfort, and also the battery swapping was done at a station and all. So we ended up building a new platform, far better product with an ecosystem of battery swapping. In the first business model, the battery swapping was done by us at a Yulu zone by my own guy. But in this case, the bike stays with the gig worker. They bring, and I would say that COVID led us this new customer, where we said, okay, not only the air pollution, but traffic, but also improving livelihood. So that became our third mission statement. And then post that, we never looked back. And with the rise of food commerce, hyperlocal delivery, and now of late, quick commerce, that use case has gone up significantly high. to an extent that out of 45,000 vehicles what we have got today, 40,000 of them are being used for the purpose of movement of goods. So this has become so big, and we see a good future for the company by not letting go the previous business model, but we have not grown because the goodness and the impact and the scale what we get on putting it today on moving the goods is far higher. And we are like, okay, we are, I'll not say emotional, but we also have to be wearing the right hat. So the monetization period is faster, you make more money, and there's a market to be built. So we are kind of going with the right flow rather than being just saying that, oh, I will just stick to this. So that business is running, but we have not added new additional supply.
So you have a separate bike for office goer category and a
Same
separate
same
bike.
bike, two
Yeah.
avatars, if I may
Okay.
clarify that. They're almost like a
Hmm.
Karan Arjun.
Hmm.
It's almost like that, built on the same platform. They just color different, and we just name it different, so that consumers know that this bike is for them for office commute. This bike is for the delivery people to use it for hyperlocal deliveries.
Okay. So, which then brings me to, you said you need purpose built vehicle for commercial use. So, commercial because it's being used for delivery. So, therefore, it becomes primarily a commercial vehicle. Uh, and these delivery workers have their own specific needs. And then you also have a need for ensuring that it is not stolen, um, because it's being driven by someone who's renting it rather than owning it. And most delivery workers don't have licenses. So how did all of these come together in a design? Give me some like feature list, like this design was determined by this. uh,
Sure. So from day one, we kept our vehicle specification to that standard which is defined, well defined in India, in fact, all over the world, including Japan, that if it is below this threshold, you don't have to worry about the legal aspect of the bikes. In fact, this is
it's
bicycle.
like a speed
So it
limit,
is
like if it's
speed limit, motor power, and the weight.
okay.
So if your
Okay.
speed is maximum speed is 25, motor power average is 250 watt, and there's a weight limit of 60 kilogram, then this is called non-motorized vehicle, and under which it is exempted for registration, exempted for license, and things like that. So we leverage that because we understood that part, that someone who needs a ride from a metro to Yulu station to or some place, they're not going to carry their helmet. In fact, very interestingly, Japan, which is very conservative in terms of the safety, when they were launching the e-bike program, shared e-bike program, even they took off the requirement of the helmet from that usage. Same way, we understood that is not going to happen. If it is a vehicle which is built for business as usual case, then you need to have a DL, which 85% people in India don't have. They know how to ride a bicycle, and they can use Yulu very easy. They are not carrying helmet when they are commuting. Impossible. So we keeping this form factor actually helped us strategically in in getting the good user base on our side.
Hmm. What are some of the other things? So these, like the weight, the engine power, these features were decided by the regulatory norms. What are some of the other features that were decided by other requirements?
So this is actually the legal part which makes it bicycle. But post that, you need the right height so that a lady or a female who is 5'1", 5'2", so it is not very tall, it's right size. It's also, by the way, one seater, because the moment you have two seats, the weight, the motor power is not good enough to
Enough.
carry two people.
Hmm.
Other things are swappable battery. So rather than you bringing the scooter for the charging, you just swap the battery. Other thing including this is anti theft features. So all the fasteners, lot of things are uh, built for anti theft. There are also anti abuse system where you throw the bike very harsh on some rough surface, nothing will happen. You throw it to the water, nothing will happen.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay. You
IoT.
did all this testing, like
There is no
destroying
key.
bikes.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
key. So everything is keyless. So it's actually every part has been thought through from that lens that it is for a commercial use case. It's not built for usage, it is built for abuse. So different design thinking altogether.
fascinating. How is it keyless? Like, how do
So what
you?
happens, Akshay, in this case, there's actually a lock, but that lock is operated by the app. So just like your remote control on your car, right? You're not inserting the key anymore. You click a button, it opens. And that concept was there even on our first pedal bicycle. Even our pedal bicycle had no key. It was an IoT lock. You click a button, the lock will open. And we kind of use that ongoing basis.
What all data do you get from the bike?
We
One
actually
data, of
get
course,
a
is like
lot
the
of
lock.
data.
Right. Hmm.
We get uh, almost 200, 200 data points every 100 milliseconds.
Wow.
And it is location, health of battery, engine, motor, vibration, the bunch of sensors out there. There's a lot of edge computing that happens on the IoT device, and but the most powerful data is actually the location data, which you actually get hold of from the system.
And how does this data help improve the product?
So actually, that is the, you can say, secret sauce. But essentially speaking, to start with the asset safety, we know where the bike is and if something happens, what to do. We are also able to use it to do a lot of preventive maintenance. So in the classic case, when you use you buy your car, it is written that at 5,000 these things will be changed, at 20,000 this will be changed. And at an individual level it is okay, but when we are running this business, every extra spare which you have changed ahead of time is a cost for you, and the things which you did not change in time, it will amount to a breakage, and breakage actually is very very costly. Not only the spare, but you have to bring it to the workshop. You also lose money on that day because you are being paid every day, so it's very costly affair. So we have now a very intelligent system which is able to predict the life of an individual component for that context. Just to give you a sense, my my shock absorber has a lower life in Bangalore because our roads are far more bumpy, and it has got better life in city of Delhi, which has got better roads. But at the same time, my city of Bombay has got lot of rusting going on because of the coastal climate. So every component, and then there are components which are far more lower life in Delhi because of the excessive heat. So every component of the bike has a different lifeline in the context of a different city. So imagine you using some standard parameter, either you will be over conservative or you will be losing things. So this is another thing. Uh, and then bunch of things happen, by the way too many things. So there's a lot of optimization. We go back to our partners, say that, hey, can you make this better? So every component gets better and better over a period of time. And with that, our bike life, which is built for 70,000 kilometer, 4 years, is only going to go up. Lesser downtime, lesser repair maintenance, higher customer NPS. Everything is basically just makes things exponentially better uh, in this case.
Okay, okay. Uh, so, how does the distribution of it work? Like, you still have your owned and operated Yulu points, or
Yeah. So for our uh, business model one, which is moving people, we have created a 300 meters density Yulu zone. So every 300 meters is a Yulu zone. But for the goods mobility, which is moving goods, we have created what we call Yulu centers. And the first one, most of them are given to us by the city authorities and the private entities free of cost. So almost 98% of those spots are given to us free of cost. But these Yulu centers where we are using them to get a customer who can pick it up, they can also bring it back if they want to swap the bike or get the bike repair or return the bike because they're having a 2 3 days off. And they have a workshop. There's a person, so it's almost like a hub where it's there's someone who can help you, assist you, knowing the more about the bike, and we can help you with the bike issue, etc. They are all managed by us, owned by us, so we pay rent, uh, and these are basically hubs for Yulu. And the second infrastructure what we own and run is the battery swapping points, and that operation is being run by a separate entity now, which we ended up building with Yuma, with Magna in the US. So it's called Yuma. So Yuma is battery as a service entity where the gig workers go, they get the battery swapping done in less than 1 minute, and then basically they keep on going.
Okay. And these battery centers are also owned and operated.
They're also owned and operated, majority of them. We are also trying a franchisee business model for both Yulu and Yuma. On the Yulu side, there are cities where Yulu is not directly running. So cities like Kolkata, Kochi, there are local entrepreneurs who basically have said that I'll take Yulu bike, use your technology, and they pay us money for that. On the Yuma side, certain cities they don't run, so they are using COFO model, where it is run by the assets are owned by company, but it is operated by someone else. So within the city where there's a place where we have uh, still our own places, so they go co-locate their charging systems in those premises, and there's a business model for that. But for all practical purpose, you can say a good 90-95% of both businesses are owned and operated at the moment.
Okay. The so you're saying the driver typically is not having the behavior of pick up, do your deliveries and drop, but he actually keeps the bike with him.
Yeah, because they also need to go to their home, which is also a pain point. So it helps us because in that case we don't have to solve for tens of thousands of bike storage in the night, and it gives me no leverage, and also the accountability of the bike. If we say you drop it here, tomorrow he's trying to figure out his own sheep in the herd, that where is my bike number 123. And if you let him pick anything, then lot of anxiety will happen whether I'll get bike or not, and the accountability that if something has gone wrong, then who is accountable for that? So this way there's far better accountability. He knows that if he misbehaves with a bike, at least someone will ask question, what happened to this seat, what happened to this light? So they take care of the asset at least better versus just free hand and just leave it like this.
Okay, interesting. How do you incentivize this behavior? Like, do you charge a monthly fees instead of daily, or what?
So we do actually charge daily fees. They typically prepay us for a week, and they typically renew the pack because their payout from these gig platform is 1 week. So they don't have a lot of money. They come, they pay us close to 200 rupees per day, and they keep on renewing the pack. And when they need, let's say, a day off or a couple of days off, they can come and return the bike at Yulu centers. And when they want to take it back, they come back and move on.
So the Yuma business, why do it separately? Like, do you get a lot of other bikes also in that, or like, is it largely currently the battery swapping is largely for your own vehicles, or
So currently, if you ask me, yeah, Yulu is the largest and significantly most of the volume. At the same time, we do see that battery swapping in India will be a big business, knowing everything has to be electric. As you know, we have deadlines for 2030, and as the market is progressing, there will be lot of commercial and personal use cases, and we believe that we having a network where we are one of the customer, but there are also others will help bring down the cost. So Yulu will not only have a better, denser, and cheaper network, but more than that, we are also able to create value. So Yulu has decent equity or shareholding in Yuma. So when Yuma is growing, there's also additional value creation for Yulu shareholders. So it is done for both short to mid term, but mid to long term value creation lens.
There used to be a debate. I remember reading in newspapers, etc., about which is the better way to go: battery swapping or charging, fast charging. Has that debate been settled?
Uh, Answer to your question is that it is not singular answer. It is actually very nuanced. So it's all about the use case. So if the use case is that for a personal, let's say car user, I'll come to the two wheeler in a moment. My use case is I have two cars. For my city travel, I typically go to office, 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer, 40 kilometer, even airports, 50 kilometer. So my 2, 3, 400 kilometer battery pack is good enough. I don't care. I charge at my home most of the time. And then on a rainy day, if there are some points in the city, I'll go and charge. But the same car, when it is used as a taxi, is doing 200 kilometer, 300 kilometer, then you do need a fast charger because you don't have a privilege of charging for 8 hours. And you also need them at the area where you don't, not the area where you live, the place where you work. So for the same car, the answer is different because of the use case. Same thing is true for two wheeler, where yeah, your vehicle, you just have to go to office, small here and there. Once in a blue moon, you do need plug it, no problem. Even leave it, come in an auto. But when you're using it for commercial use case, then you don't have time. And many a times, these gig workers who live in a different community, their ability to charge the scooter is next to impossible. They cannot take the vehicle to their rooms. So, what is happening for commercial use case? Battery swapping is the way to go. Now, this is from a lens of someone owning the vehicle. Now, from Yulu's perspective, let's say you can say, no problem, I will charge it for you. I'll provide charger. So, first of all, Yulu would have to set up fast chargers where at those commercial areas where these guys are moving.
Hmm.
This is humongously expensive. For you to acquire fast charger ke liye power and then you putting the parking system will make you bankrupt. Versus me, my ability to put a small unit where I can charge 60, 70 batteries per day from not so fast or not so powerful or fat pipe of electricity, because fast charger also degrades your battery very fast. So that's not economically viable and also safety risk, just to also not that lose that part. So it is a not a good idea for a company like Yulu to do a charging system based thing for two wheelers. So not good for end consumers, not good for Yulu and our company's type. So that's why swapping is the way to go for anything commercial. More importantly, the vehicle form factor is smaller, then swapping is very, very good. The moment you go for the bigger battery packs, let's say in two wheeler, then you cannot just lift a 4 kilowatt hour battery pack. You cannot, like, it is impossible. So if you look at what Ether is doing, Chetak is doing, TVS is doing, they have a fixed battery pack. But who were they selling it to? They're selling it to people like you and I. Use case 30, 40, 50 kilometer tops. But when it goes to the gig worker, they do 80 kilometer, 100 kilometer, 150 kilometers. They don't have time. So for them, swappable battery is the way to go.
Okay. Okay. Uh, why did you choose to sell to gig workers instead of, let's say, being a logistics company which is selling to a Zomato? Like, you could also have told Zomato that I will be a logistics partner for you, and uh, the gig worker then, instead of paying you, gets paid per delivery. That like, there are companies doing that kind of model, like moving, and there's, I think, that Zip, couple of these. I think they are on that model, if I'm not mistaken. What is the reason for your choice to uh, not go after the end payer of, like, say, a Zomato who's eventually paying these gig workers, but instead monetize the gig workers?
So let's see this question from the lens of three stakeholders. To start with, let's see this from the gig workers lens. Yeah. So let's say we are doing a model where we are telling the gig worker where to work, which is quote unquote B2B. I go deal with Swiggy, Zomato. I say, okay, I'll send my guy. The gig worker actually is just because he does not have a bike, is coming to you and doing what you are asking him to do. He's not happy. This place of work, what you are sending him, may not suit him. The hours may not suit him. And there's way too much of micromanagement. If I hire him on a fixed salary, then God save me, because he will say कि सर भीड़ थी, ये बंद हो गया, पेट में दर्द था. Getting anything out of that is impossible. And if he's a gig worker, then he can leave you anytime whenever he has a bike or is a better opportunity. And this is the life from the gig worker lens. So he is better off. His pain point is not how to make money, because he also knows I can download Swiggy app and start earning money. And the moment he sees that a company like Yulu is giving him lesser money, he will leave you next day.
Okay.
The
Right.
moment he has sorted the bike. From the eyes of a Swiggy, Zomato, Zepto, if you look at it, what are they doing? They're also a logistic company, by the way. They
Yes,
have
they
built
are a logistics. Yes.
they have built a three-sided marketplace. On one end, they have a restaurant owner. Other hand, the gig worker. The third end, we have someone like a consumer like you and I. The moment they use this clutch of outsourcing one side, which is fairly fragmented, then they lose power of their platform in the long term. And suddenly, you know the power of two-sided marketplace and three-sided marketplace, etc. So there's a physics behind that. I'm not going through that, but this is your power. There's a virtuous cycle that makes you bigger and bigger. So from their lens also, they owning the relationship with that gig worker directly through their app is far more valuable and strategic importance. Imagine me coming and saying, "Hey, I'm giving you this guy, but he's not my guy," and blah. Bloody someone is making money, and this someone is making money is either going into my pocket and is being taken away either from the gig worker pocket or from the platform. So they don't like it. They hate it rather. And in this entire journey, from Yulu's lens now, yeah, I will actually inflate my GMV or my revenue. But you know what? The entire gig worker payout part, it is 100% pass through. The moment I deduct even 10 rupees, he will say, dude, I am leaving. And he will leave. And he will be working with me till the time he does not have his own bike.
Hmm. Right.
So that is going on in his head. The second part is I become a manpower company, dignified manpower company. I can call myself whatever shit, but I'm bloody a manpower company. And if we ask when we never wanted to become a fitness company, do I want to become a manpower company? Answer is hell no. So we are a true mobility as a service company where our customer, and hence my God, is gig worker. We empower him with mobility as a service where we believe this entire layer requires very, very deep engineering, innovation, and lot of work to be done. So we basically are not buying off the shelf stuff and say, dude, you figure out your life. We are saying we will give the stack where you have 100% uptime, affordable and sensible mobility option, and I empower you to work with a grocery guy or a food guy or a whatsoever guy. You are the king. Now he has a better negotiation, although I'll not say negotiation, but at least he can do one thing. He cannot negotiate with platform, but he can always leave them. He can switch loyalty. And from our side, we also enjoy that because this structure is also strategically good. A Swiggy Zomato cannot say tomorrow 10% cut. and I have nowhere to go. So today, they cannot exercise a pressure on me on the pricing side. Uh, and they love us because we are also making them look better. We are also making them far more powerful. And any company, any founder you talk, for them, the third party logistic company is only used for the cushion, is only for that last 10%. So we are better off playing in that 90% TAM market versus a 10% TAM market where I'm trying to forcefully push my bike to the throat of this poor guy who is dependent on me. So we have actually created a far more transparent and fair ecosystem for all the stakeholders. And our value addition is the mobility, where enough and more levers for us to make money and be fair, transparent to the other parties the way they want to do work. So that is the reason. And I know this question is being asked practically every meeting. Actually, VCs or some investors really love that. Oh, you should be a B2B company. You know what? Blah blah blah. Demand is given on the platter, and we are like, you know what? This country is supply constrained. Demand comes to me free of cost. So we are a zero CAC company.
Wow.
We are always
Okay.
supply constrained,
Uh,
and why do we bother about a GTM when I am getting a goodness of a B2B demand, and I work with all of these guys very closely, literally as a very strategic partner. But yeah, the money comes from the gig worker, who is the actual person who is taking the mobility, and he should pay.
mm. So right now there is no such thing as competition for you because you're saying you are supply constrained. If you were able to put another 10,000 bikes in the market, they would be lapped up.
So yeah, 50. Yeah, we can double without blinking.
Wow. Okay. Um, so by like, what do you think? By when will you hit that stage where then you start feeling competition?
Uh, I don't know. This question is both good and bad, and the state answer is also good and bad. If I remain a monopoly, I will certainly love it. At the
Uh,
same time,
Currently, are you the only organized player doing this, or are there others?
fortunately, we are the only company of our size and scale. Sometimes people get confused that, oh, you are Zip, but we are not whatever as a service. We are
Yeah, yeah,
very
you're in a different category, right?
mobility tech company solving for problem of mobility. So we are very unique. But yeah, we do have folks whom do we compete directly, indirectly. So there are folks like small fleet players who will buy off the shelf product, send their scooter to some other's charging station, give them home charger. We have models like Zip and all. But don't get me wrong, everyone basically doing because they think there's a value. And I don't think so. Their thought process is wrong. But you always have some vision of the company and the future. We have chosen to be far more technology oriented company than just revenue gathering company, without, by the way, value creation. So we think that market will evolve from here, but clearly anyone who is not looking the vehicle at the center of their strategy, they will struggle for sure. The reason being, if you have multiple types of asset, their upkeep becomes a pain point. This is a running engine, so the brake pile will go, the nut and bolt and the light and the horn. And if you have multiple fragmented assets, it will come and bite you, and your downtime will be very high, and the business model will not work. So you do need a very strategic thinking and design, and then execution on that at the center of that. And then a lot of things around that: modes, data, technology, efficiency. So who can come and do this? uh, yeah, it can happen. I'm not saying that we will remain like that forever. At the same time, today we do not know anyone with that chops and that long-term thinking. uh, so I know it's not a good answer and people hate me for that. uh, But today we do not know. But I believe that because the market is so big, there will be, some founders who will figure things out, and there will be few backers who will say, yes, this business model is working. Why don't you double down? So sooner or later, there will be a few more companies, maybe with different playbook, but at least using some of the good things what we have learned and done. And these are like public wisdom, is not like hidden in some secret kitchen. So, but someone has to just play it out, and yeah, there's an opportunity for sure.
So why are you supply constrained? You, from what I can see, you've raised north of $100 million. You have Bajaj Auto as a strategic investor, so therefore, like your supply should not be a challenge.
Yeah. So what happens when you're playing a long game, Akshay? The profitability matrix does not look good. Second thing is, you are today an asset heavy model, so money does not get poured into yourself. So you have to achieve certain scale profitability matrix for you to get money at the right price point. So either you use equity, which comes with its own set of milestones, or you use debt. And in the past, because we were building a new business model, people did not know for how many years, for how many kilometers a bike will be going, how much money you will be making. So we didn't have data. And large pool of capital happens when everything is proven. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And then by given to the stranger, this use case, so many things which gets clouded. So while there's a huge market, but money is not given to you on a platter, and I'm actually referring to the sensible money at the sensible price point. I don't want to go raise money at 20% interest rate. Uh, we do not have such margins in India, at least at this moment. So we had to wait with all patience and also make sure that the bike is far more stable, and then you double down on that. But the story will change dramatically uh, over next 3 years or couple of years, where we cross couple of milestones and we've been given far more access to the capital. Most of it is non-dilutive in nature, and then you grow like crazy. But even then, we will make sure as a strategy we will remain supply constrained. We do not want to be a demand constrained company. It's better for us to be demand always surplus and supply constrained. As it happens in any airline business or hotel business, if you look at it, where there's a hard thing, whose book it is sitting, different point. But that whole thing has to get monetized, and monetized with the right amount of IRR or right amount of utilization rate, giving you the money. So yeah, it is a product which has got a cost of holding, the cost of service. It's not like a sleeping thing which does not conserve any energy or fuel. So we have to be mindful. So that is my answer. So you will see a far bigger Yulu over next 3 years, and exponentially growth journey from here onwards. But we will supply constraint, and we have no comms in saying that.
The milestones that you want to hit, are they business related milestones or
These are
also
basically
about
profitability. These are profit.
profitability? Okay. Hmm.
We turn EBITDA profitable. The next big milestone is EBIT positive milestone, because that gives us a infinite leverage in terms of getting right amount of money at the right price point to grow the market. And the demand is just crazy big. We just touched the surface of solving for one use case. There are five more use cases which we will go unlock, and the market is humongously large.
Oh, what is the EBITDA and EBIT difference? How does that help you?
So it's
Can you?
just see our business. Uh, our bike has certain life, so it's not like you have see that when you are putting up a factory, when you buy the machine is good for 10, 20 years. Or build a house or build a hotel is good for 50 years. But in my case, the bike I buy has only life of these many months or years. So for me to keep on going without raising equity, the bike has to produce enough and more IRR to pay its own EMI. So it's almost like my cost of goods, and my cost of goods has to be basically the bike, which is also kind of deteriorating with time. So it has to pay its own EMI. So difference between EBITDA and EBIT. So EBITDA, we are generating enough margin to take care of my HQ cost. So we have a 240 member team, engineers, BD people. So today, my revenue minus all OPEX minus my SG&A is more than zero. I was able to I was okay with that because earlier I was using money from my equity pool. I did not have to pay anyone an EMI. But in future, when you also have to pay an EMI, then you also have to earn the interest cost
Hmm.
and
Okay.
the cost of basically depreciation essentially. So that is basically the EBIT where you are paying to the lender, you are paying to your stuff from your revenue and your margin.
Okay, understood. Understood. So essentially, the cost of replacing a bike or buying that cost
Yes,
is
sir.
what.
Got it right.
Okay, okay, understood. Uh, do you plan to continue with like raising debt, or you also want to raise more equity? Or?
So we have to raise all sort of capital. In the past, we were only relying on equity capital, and from last year and a half, we also raised debt, certain debt, around $15 million, just to buy assets. But there was a ratio of equity to debt for the governance reason. As we move forward, because we have hit now EBITDA profitability, we actually can go a little bit more aggressive on debt, but you still need some money in the bank as a balance sheet support, because when debt guys give you money, they need, it's like your margin money, right? So you have to keep money in the bank all the time, and that is equity capital. And then another unlock will happen when it is an EBIT or PAT positive state, where you just go really large. So year from now, the composition of the bike which we are buying for growth, equity, debt, and lease finance will flip. It will become more lease and then some debt and then very little equity.
Okay, understood.
But none of these
Okay,
line items will be zero, just to
hmm,
be clear, because each one of these type of money come at different cost of the funds and has got certain limitation, and it's good, basically good governance for you to be not greedy on these matters.
okay. What did you do different at Yulu as a second-time founder? How did your first experience shape some of the decisions here? You know, you might have got some learnings, some mistakes you didn't want to repeat.
I can tell you what for sure we were replicating. Uh, Certainly, it was a new playbook, new product, new everything new. People laugh at me that how come you were doing mobile internet. So from mobile to mobility, there's a lot of similarity, but there's absolutely different word. So
This
we
is
had
completely offline
had
business.
to write the playbook again, and but at the abstract level, clearly, we knew that a big company or the long term value creation will happen when you have sorted the people part and then the product part and then profit. So the three P's in that stock order. So got great founding team, great core member team, people, culture, those softer aspects which typically people don't talk about. They were the bedrock of our decision. We were never having a FOMO. We were very first principle. So when market was going through petrol scooters, they were going some all vanity exercise. Even your question on B2B and B2C to B, all of these are very first principle thinking. We had courage to build the stuff which was not there. So from parking infrastructure to battery charging, consumer habit policies, entire tech, all of that did not exist. We built it. So building for long, what was not done should not worry you. Like glass was never done. We did that. InMobi was not there. We kind of crazy enough to do that. So there were a lot of belief system which was like, if you're building for long, these are the components. And yeah, government is not or someone else will not build it. And one very important formula, your value creation is directly proportional to your value. addition. So you very better add value. Don't just collect, make some vanity metrics without value addition, because value creation will not happen otherwise. And then strong governance side, very traditional old school related to profitability. People used to laugh at us, hey dude, what you're saying. We are like, no, we that's what we want to. So we are very old school in those fundamental principles, and I think have done well. We are seeing people with lack of focus, some shortcuts, as I mentioned, either financial or product or sometime ethical. We don't take, COVID happened, for example, not a single person was let go. We have gone through two or three near life deaths, uh, but never ever we basically had to let go people, and we believed in that theory. uh, on the on the sites which I've told you that, in movie also did not happen, we were all very young. We did make some mistakes, as I said, technology versus business expansion. um, yeah, there were a lot of things which we kind of figured out during in movie journey. A lot of things got replicated here.
Like the fact that you have zero CAC. This is
Yeah,
clearly a
people again laughed at us,
yeah, this is
because
clearly like the learning from
you
InMobi,
come
the
from
focus on.
advertising world. Why are you
Mm,
so anti-advertising? I said, no, no, I'm not anti-advertising, but I don't need it. I know the best product, and the best companies gets built by user reference, not by throwing the ad, shoving the ad in their throat. So yeah, so those good first principle thinking and learnings were very helpful all the time.
mm, Fascinating. Thank you so much for your time, Amit.